Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, occult detectives, Sweet Valley High and a fake CriminOlly. It's my weekly wrap-up. So the first part of this video is a public service announcement. There is a fake me on Discord. So there is someone who has set up a profile on Discord. They are called CriminOlly, but with an extra I, so it's like CriminOlly, using my photo, and they've been contacting people who are members of my Discord server and like sending them friend requests. And then when people accept those friend requests, this person starts talking about trading. So it's definitely not me. I very rarely send anyone a friend request on Discord because I've got a Discord server and that's where I chat with people. So if you have had a friend request from someone, it almost certainly wasn't me. Block them. And apologies, there's nothing I can do about this, sadly. Clearly that person has been banned from my Discord server, but they still have an account on Discord. So if that person contacts you, just block them straight away. If anyone ever sends you a friend request and it appears to be me, ask them a random question about books that I might know the answer to, and that will probably fairly quickly tell you whether it's really me or not. But as I say, I very, very rarely friend people on Discord anyway. Right, let's get on to the rest of the video. So it's Occult Detective October. I'm wearing my Occult Detective t-shirt again, Occult Detective magazine even t-shirt again, and I have 3 Occult Detective-ish books to talk to you about today, plus some other things as well. So as normal, I go through what I've read and then talk about what's been on the channel and what's coming up on the channel. So let's go through the books in order of me reading them. So the first one definitely was an Occult Detective book. It was Moon Over Soho by Ben Aaronovitch, which is the second of the Rivers of London series. So this is the kind of, if you think about different subgenres within the occult detective subgenre, this is like urban fantasy basically. So it's the Rivers of London book are a series of books where there are wizards basically, and there are also kind of deities. So the rivers of London, the rivers that run through London, have like physical manifestations associated with them, like demigods associated with them. The central character of these books is like a fairly junior police officer who works for a part of the Metropolitan Police that is aware of the existence of wizards and like investigates wizards, and he is a wizard himself. So these books are really, really fun. They do a great job of portraying multicultural London. So the main character is black, and there was a lot in this book about his parents and about his upbringing. His dad is a jazz musician, so there was a lot about kind of jazz culture and things like that. There's a lot of humour in these books. They're nicely paced. Everything these books do, they do really, really well. The one problem I have with these books is, and I had exactly the same problem with the first book, but it's only really on reading the second one that I realise what the problem is. The problem is, as I've said, they're about wizards, and I don't think I really like books about wizards. That's what I've come to realise. I'm not a fan of books with like actual magic in them. So I think the books are really, really well written, really entertaining, but if you don't like wizards, they're probably not for you. That said, I enjoy the writing style enough and the humour in the books to probably continue the series. I have a load more of them digitally, so maybe I'll read another one next year for Occult Detective October. Right, moving on then. So the next thing I read was not an Occult Detective book, but was a buddy read with MJ, who's the creator of Occult Detective October. So this was Cover Girls, which is one of the Sweet Valley High novels. So this is book 129, and it's the first in the Flare trilogy. So this is a trilogy where the the Sweet Valley twins go to work at a fashion magazine as kind of interns. Jessica, who you will remember, or you may remember, is like the naughty twin, is a like photographer's assistant, and Elizabeth, who's the good twin, the studious twin, is a like kind of copy editor, that kind of job. And stuff happens. It was really, really entertaining. It sets itself up nicely for the next book in the series. So there's like a slightly dodgy photographer character. There's like the magazine editor who Elizabeth really looks up to, but he's really like very focused on her career and wants Elizabeth to kind of sacrifice her friends for a potential future career in publishing. There was a lot of will she, won't she? Jessica ends up having to choose between two guys. So it was just a very, very entertaining read and nicely kind of set in that magazine fashion world. So I didn't say who it was written by, and therein lies the tale. So the name on the cover is Francine Pascal. So Francine Pascal created the Sweet Valley High series, but I don't know if she actually wrote any of them or not. I had always assumed that the person who wrote them was the person inside Kate Williams. So it says there, written by Kate Williams. But what I've just discovered, to my shock and horror, is Kate Williams is a completely made-up person. So it sounds like most of the books in the Sweet Valley High series, or many of them, were written by one person whose name now escapes me, I'm afraid, who was like a student or something like that by the sound of it. But there were a team of people who wrote these books. And what Francine Pascal did is come up with kind of vague outlines for what the story should be about. So Kate Williams, who I'd assumed was a real person, is in fact as fictitious as Jessica and Elizabeth. Right, moving on then. So what did I finish next? So the next thing I finished then was The Cat by Georges Simenon. This is a very boring cover, so this is the advanced reading copy that Penguin sent me. I quite like the kind of austereness of the cover though. This was really, really very good indeed. So this is a new translation of a Simenon book, which I think is probably possible. I'm not sure if it's been out of print or if it's just a new translation, but I really, really enjoyed it. So it's about this like retired couple who live in Paris, a man and a woman, no kids, and they absolutely hate each other, and they communicate like they don't talk to each other. They live in a fairly small apartment, but they don't talk. They communicate by writing little notes to each other. And the reason it's called The Cat is because the husband hates the wife because he believed that she poisoned his cat. And he constantly like needles her about it. And she in return thinks that he killed her parrot and constantly reminds him of that. And it ends up being not so much about the couple, more about the guy and things he does in response to this situation he finds himself in. They are both, it's like the second marriage for both of them. And I found it to be just a really, really beautiful character study. There is kind of a story, but not really a plot, if that makes sense. But really, it was very, very nicely written, quite amusing at times, but really thought-provoking and interesting. And I just really enjoyed spending time with this character and seeing how he dealt with his life, basically. And as someone who, he's a retired guy, and as someone who is not a million miles away from retirement myself, maybe got 10 or so years left at work, it was interesting thinking about like the concept of being retired as well. So I thought it was really, really great. Right, next up then, so I finished listening to an audiobook that I have been listening to last week as well, Black Mountain by Laird Barron, which is the second of the Isaiah Coleridge books. So this again kind of falls into the occult detective genre just about. So Isaiah Coleridge is in this book he's like a private investigator in upstate New York, previously a mob enforcer, and he gets hired by someone from the mob to look into some suspicious deaths that have happened to people who work for the mob, basically. And it appears that this ex-mob hitman is bumping people off. And there is a wonderful tension in this book where you don't really know if what is going on is supernatural, if there is a supernatural element to it. And it's just really, really nicely done. There were some very, very creepy scenes indeed. Some really good, just kind of classic investigation, like procedural type stuff with Isaiah Coleridge, like going round, interviewing people, finding stuff out, and trying to uncover the truth of what's going on. Some really good characters, really, really interesting characters, some great kind of almost like slightly cliched mob speak, but really entertaining to read. And some great action sequences as well. So I really, really like these books. weirdly, and if anyone knows the answer to this in the comments, please do let me know. This book, Black Mountain, as I say, I listened to the audiobook of it, and having finished it, I decided I would buy a copy of it in paperback, because the first Isaiah Coleridge book, Blood Standard, I have a nice paperback of. So I decided I'd buy a copy of Black Mountain in the same paperback edition, if you like, as I'm losing my ability to speak, as Blood Standard, and then also buy the final book in the trilogy, Worse Angels. And Black Mountain is pretty much impossible to buy in paperback. I suspect it wasn't ever published over here in the UK, but even from the States, it's really expensive in paperback. It's cheaper to buy the hardback, which I don't want because I prefer paperbacks anyway, and I want to have 3 matching paperbacks. For some reason, it's really, really difficult to come by. So if anyone knows why that is, please let me know in the comments. I'm kind of intrigued. It's a bit of a mystery itself. Anyway, so that was fantastic. Really creepy, really gripping. I loved it. Moving on then. So the next thing I finished was not nearly as good. So I needed another book to listen to. And Spotify rather, if you don't know, has this thing where you get, if you're a Spotify premium member, you get 15 hours of free audiobooks each month. And Black Mountain had taken up 8 and a bit hours. So I had about 6 or 7 hours left. So I was looking for something short, and I discovered that they've got some Don Pendleton books on there. So Don Pendleton, the creator of the Executioner series, which I really, really enjoy, like a trashy men's adventure series. In fact, I did a book haul video featuring Executioner books in the week just gone. I really, really like those books. And they had the first one of those, and I thought maybe I'll listen to that. And I thought, well, I have read that. And I was looking through what else they had. And they had this other series by him, which I'd never heard of. The first book in that series is called Ashes to Ashes. And this is a series of books that's about a detective who is psychic, so perfect for Occult Detective October. So I listened to the first of those, and it was terrible. It was really bad. It was nothing like the Executioner books at all. It was really, I'm not sure exactly when they were written, but I'm guessing late 70s, early 80s. It was really, really kind of new agey. And this detective, who can see ghosts and things like that, ends up investigating this, it's kind of an heiress in a mansion with weird stuff going on kind of a book. And you're not sure if she's kind of possessed by the spirit of someone else from her family, or if something else is going on. There's lots of kind of hints of sex in this book. When Ashton, the main character, goes there in the first place, this woman is trying to seduce him, and it appears that he has the ability to help women who are unable to reach the point of satisfaction, shall we say. But he's able to kind of psychically in some way help them do that. And then that part of the story kind of goes away as the book progresses. It was just very, very silly and written in a really clumsy way. The thing I quite like about the Executioner books is whilst they're basically dumb, they are written in quite a kind of punchy way, whereas this just felt really overwritten. There was loads of exposition. It was just a really, really bad book. So I did finish it, but it was definitely disappointing. Right, so that brings me on to what I'm currently reading. So I went full on mood reader and just picked something from my shelves that I just really fancied. I fancied reading an entertaining light thriller, and I picked up Mayday by Nelson DeMille and Thomas Bloch. So Thomas Bloch is an author I've read. Well, I've read both of these authors before, actually. So Thomas Bloch was an airline pilot, and he wrote, I think this is the first book he actually wrote, but he went on to write a bunch of other books about planes crashing, basically, and I've read a few of those. Nelson DeMille, quite well known as a thriller writer, and I've read a few of his thrillers. And it turns out, it says in the introduction, they actually went to school together. They've known each other pretty much all their lives. And I think Bloch had given DeMille some kind of technical advice on his first book, and then they decided to team up and write a book together. It's really, really fun. It's really trashy, but it's really fun. So the concept is there's this new kind of super jumbo jet that flies very, very high, flies as high as Concorde did, so higher than most planes do. And the US military is testing a new missile, and that missile hits, one of those missiles hits the plane, basically. But the missile doesn't have a warhead on, so rather than destroying the plane, it just goes through the plane, so causes 2 big holes in the side of the plane, which causes the plane to decompress. And that decompression kills most of the it kills about half of the passengers. The ones that it doesn't kill, it gives like irreversible brain damage to, and just a very few people who were in various places on the plane, mostly in the toilets, which had like separate pressure, so they weren't starved of oxygen. Those people survive. Fortunately, one of those people is someone who kind of knows a bit about flying planes, and it's about him trying to get the plane, across the ocean and land it, whilst at the same time, basically everyone outside of the plane who should be helping them actually kind of wants the plane to crash because it would make their lives easier. It's really, really good. It kind of feels a bit like a horror novel at times, in that you've got all these people in the plane, the other passengers who've been brain damaged, kind of shambling around and trying to figure out what to do, kind of a bit like zombies, and attacking the kind of main characters at various points. But it's just really fun. There's loads of intrigue. The central character is like a fun, kind of muscular, kind of hero type character. So yeah, it's very, very entertaining indeed. I worried it might be too long because it's about 450 pages, but it's really keeping me riveted. So definitely enjoying that. Okay, so that's all the books talked about then. In terms of channel stuff then, so in the last week you've had a video, well, you've had 2 extra videos from me this week. So you had a video where I unboxed 2 devices from Bigme, so the B13, which is an e-ink monitor, and the B6, which is a cute little e-reader. You had a men's adventure book haul, so going through a load of executioner books that were very kindly sent to me by a viewer. You had like a completely impromptu video that I hadn't planned to make at all, but it was Ed McBain, my favourite author's birthday in the week just gone, and I've announced a new reading project which everyone is welcome to take part in, where we're going to read his 87th Precinct series of 55 books from first book to last over the next 4.5 years or so. So yeah, if you fancy that and you haven't seen that video, do check it out. Then you had my review of King Sorrow by Joe Hill, his new book, which comes out on Tuesday coming, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. And then you also had a video, a very clickbaity video, I'm afraid, talking about BookTube's open secret. So talking about the fact that there are loads of videos on BookTube that rather than being about books are about BookTube, are about the process of making videos and what it's like to be a member of the community and things like that. And I'm definitely not being critical of that trend, because I have definitely contributed to it in the past. But yeah, I thought I'd make a video about that. In the week ahead then, you're going to get another book haul video. You're going to get an announcement video for an event starting in November. If you've watched the channel for a while, you may be able to figure out what that is. Starts in November, doesn't finish in November, carries on. You'll probably know what it is. And then you'll get a review video from me as well, which will probably either be of the Laird Barron book, Black Mountain, or The Cat by Georges Simenon, or maybe something else. We shall see. I haven't filmed that yet. Anyway, I will leave things there. Do let me know in the comments what you've been reading this week. Watch out for the fake CriminOlly. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.